What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick, and in this video we're going to be doing a little bit more live trading. I've really missed doing these and I've just been pretty busy lately, but I'm finally now that we've got this dashboard tool out and done, the developing side of it has at least cooled down for the time being, so I'm back to filming a little bit more of my trading and getting back into it a little bit more steadily. So basically, I wanted to talk about this S&P trade that I am in currently and why I took it, as well as the entries, the exits, all sort of stuff that we do here in these live trading videos. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Taking a look here at S&P 500 on the daily chart, and before I go too far, this trade is already at break even. It is a winning trade, and I don't want to make it seem like I only take winners or claim to do so on YouTube. So let me show you guys a loser before we go much further. So I actually took a New Zealand Swiss trade today, or not today, a few days ago. That was no fun. Unfortunately, it ended up being a loser. And the worst part about it is it actually started out really nice. I took a long position on New Zealand Swiss, basically jumped into long position with small position, pullback zone, and believed that the overall trend could continue. I did really like the setup and still think it was a valid setup. It just unfortunately didn't work. And any successful trader should, realize or know that for the most part, losers are okay. It's, stupid losers or trades that you shouldn't take or risking too much. Those are where the real mistakes are for most traders that really get them into trouble. So anyways, took a loss on that. So I don't want to come across as just trying to say I'm always winning, because I certainly am not. I took another loss on USD ZAR, and so far this one here, you can see Frank made fun of me because I was saying this was so volatile during the day. It was back and forth, and I said if it continues lower, I'll hold, but as it looks to be moving more decisively now, throwing my head back and forth, watching all the crazy price action. That was a pretty wild mover on Friday. And then Frank just messaged in my channel. He said, get off the minute chart. So I thought that was funny. But anyways, I took a long position on the S&P today. And the reasoning basically was just that, we're in a strong uptrend. The trend readings on the dashboard were pretty strong overall. And I liked the price action towards this bottom area. You can kind of see that we had a lot of indecision here. And I just wanted, as price started to rally, I wanted to be a part of it. And so far, so good. We'll see how this trade closes out, but let's go ahead and get into the entries and the plan for the exit. So you can see I also commented, I updated to members here that so far the trade is right around 2R in profit. Not so much anymore. It's pulled back a little bit, but we can go check on that and see how things are going. So let's take a look here at the dashboard for a moment. You can actually see, let's change this color, and you can see that the S&P 500 here, if we take a look at the daily trend is a strong buy based on the moving averages that this tool uses. You can actually pause the video if you want to read about it. We'll pull this up. The trends tab on this tool uses the 20, 50, and 200 SMA basically to scan the strength of each time frame. Now, just so you know, if you do not have this tool and you want it, gold members inside of our community do get this for free. Of course, you have to pay for gold, but if you're already a gold member and you haven't seen this yet, this is downloadable for you as a gold member, or if you just want to get the software tool yourself by itself, you can check the link in the description. There should be a link. So anyways, the daily chart was a strong buy, a slight buy on the 4 hour. 1 hour was a strong sell. Actually, I feel like that's incorrect. Is this thing acting up right now? I don't think so, but let's go look at the 1 hour. So the 1 hour was really what kind of got me into the trade, is we were seeing some indecision right here, right? We're seeing some back and forth choppiness. And ultimately, I wanted to see if price could rally through. And once we started to break higher, that's where I basically jumped into the trade on those lower time frames. So anyways, the idea here is if we go to the scanner section, we can actually also see, go here on the 4 hour chart where I was looking, you can kind of see that there was also some pin bar action here that I really liked, right? We had this ginormous pin bar on the 4 hour chart showing some pretty indecisive price action here in these areas. Price did ultimately come down a little bit more. You can see in the next bar, we had a pretty big dip, but overall, price started to kind of just oscillate back and forth on those lower time frames, and on the break I basically just jumped in looking to go long in favor of this uptrend that we've been seeing on the 4 hour and the daily charts. So with that said, was there anything else? There was also a bullish pivot that printed earlier today that I liked as well. So you can see those two things combined kind of created this area as like a pocket or like a congestion zone for price. And when price started to break out of that to the long side, I figured, you know, the overall market environment is bullish. I'm more willing to be long than short in the market. I don't want to be super contrarian to this recovering market. So, you know, I ended up taking a long position. Now, if price comes down, let's talk about, that's the entry. Let's talk about the exits for a minute. If price comes down and just tags me for a break-even trade, I've already moved my stop from where it was initially, the risk being in the middle of that congestion zone, basically, to break even. So I moved that stop up to kind of lock in some of the move there. And you can see I made a video recently about it. The thumbnail looks like this. We can pop it up on the screen about how to use the risk management tool that I use here on MetaTrader, which is just the Fibonacci tool with some adjustments. You can check out that video if you want to see how I make, you know, this little fancy adjustment so that you can see your risk to reward. But anyways, as price moved in my favor there, I went ahead and locked price or my stop to break even. You can see this is where the initial stop loss was. As price was breaking higher, just said, you know, if it goes back down, I just want to get out for a small loss. But if it keeps going, then great. And again, I'm in a couple different trades right now. So my position size, one thing I want to add, right, is my position size is not huge. 0.11 on SPX 500 is, I guess it's not small either, but I have multiple trades open at the moment. So it's kind of, I want to spread it between different positions. So instead of taking, for example, maybe 1% risk on a trade, right, you might take, if you have 4 trades open, maybe to expose your account to only a small amount per trade, maybe you only take 0.25%, so on and so forth. So with that said, this is the entry, and that my plan for exits, if things go wrong, which is probably more important to talk about, is just to stop out for break even. So I've got a good move here so far. If it keeps going, great. If it doesn't, then whatever, we'll just take a break even trade and move on to something else. Now, if stuff goes in my favor, which is obviously the most ideal scenario, if price keeps going, then I will just go ahead and trail stops with the price and probably really looking to see what happens here. Check this out. So we have this kind of zone. I've been watching this area. Actually, let's turn off some of that junk on the screen for a moment and we'll talk about this. So we've got this area of support that we became resistance, right? We had a lot of sellers basically jump in once that broke, but now that we're headed back, now that we're seeing that bounce back off of that area there, seeing price break through that to me is very bullish. So if we can actually get up, I'd be very happy to go ahead and move stops up more from there, just kind of if this holds as a supportive level going forward. So ideally this level hopefully will hold as a buyer zone now, and any sort of dips that we see could be a launch pad, if you will, for buyers to continue their push higher. So that's what I've got there on the entries and the exits and the reasoning behind. By the way, if you're not already a member of our community, there's a link in the description if you want to sign up and trade with us. There's chat rooms, we do webinars and stuff, and all sorts of other content for our members there. It is a subscription fee if you're interested. You don't have to, of course. You can just watch my videos for free. But if you want to join us, then the option is there. With that said, I will be back once this thing moves again, and we'll get talking about it a little bit more. All right, guys, so it is the very next day here, and so far looking pretty good on this S&P trade. You can see it's actually the open right now. It's about 9:30 a.m. Which is the start of the New York trading session, I guess, for stocks. And as we're trading the S&P 500, that is going to impact this, of course. So with that said, as we push higher here, what I want to notice, or what I want to talk about also, is that we've got kind of this consolidation zone right here. And you can notice that we are also... Whoops, I didn't mean to do a horizontal line. Let's do a trend line here. You can notice kind of that we're forming this higher low, and it looks to be kind of like a big bullish flag, if you will, or a sort of one. You can see now we're giving back some of that, but really what we're looking for here is for this consolidation zone to chop around, of course, but hopefully it can break through that high. Now, if it does break through that high, I'll be very confident to continue holding this position. And if it does decide to break lower, then I'm going to feel a lot less confident about it. But again, still going to let this trade run until it either it hits that break even point, or if it decides to break higher. Now, again, I'm watching this zone because a lot of times you'll see this happen before the New York session actually gets going, because you have chop in the Asian session when volatility is a little bit lighter, right? There's less volume going in and out of the market. So now as we come into the actual trading day, usually we're going to see some sort of more decisive move somewhere here. And we'll see if we get that. Hopefully, and again, like I said, in our case, we're looking for that bullish move to break through the highs. And if so, then we'll continue to trail this trade and let it go for as much as it wants to. And that's pretty much where we're at right now. So watching this consolidation zone to see if we can get higher. Now, I also like here on the 1 hour chart that we're starting to see this bullish pullback zone kind of forming. And this is something generated by the tool, the A1 trading dashboard. You can see I've got it set to on. I could also turn it off if I wanted, but it's set to on. And basically what this is just showing us is it's using just moving averages and stuff to form a pullback zone. And so as long as we're staying bullish above this area, then I am very much interested in continuing to hold this on the 1 hour. And I believe it is also bullish on the 4 hour, but let's see. Yep, we're also forming. Oh, actually, it turned bearish for a moment here, which is interesting. Back when I was looking at the trade initially, it was still bullish, but because indicators like moving averages are a bit lagging, you can actually see it's kind of catching up and turning bearish. But we'll see if we can get it to go bullish again. That's not the main reason why I took this trade, but it's always nice to see those sort of indicators agreeing on the dashboard itself. So there you can actually see from the 4 hour view for just a quick second, you can kind of see that consolidation zone a little bit on the 4 hour, but the 1 hour is really where I see it best. So looking to see if we can break through this. I'll keep you guys updated with whatever happens. Hopefully we can get a move above that kind of daily high there and that range that we had from yesterday. Okay guys, so I'm back. This is the next day from when I last recorded, and what you'll notice here is that the S&P has rallied pretty nicely in my favor there. I'm still holding on to the trade, and I have not yet moved my stop. What you'll notice also is that we basically have broken through that level that we were highlighting yesterday, which is exactly what I was hoping for, or I guess hope is not the right word, but what I was looking for it to do was to kind of break through this kind of upward wedge, if you will, in this market. And what this was is kind of just a consolidation zone where price was either going to, I guess it's obvious, it's either going to go up or down, but the idea being that, okay, from here we can either kind of push and continue this trend, or this might just peter out and kind of fail on that. So the idea there is that once this thing broke, this gives me more confidence to be in the trade. I'm very happy with how things are going. I do want to go ahead and lock in some profits here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to trail this thing up a little bit. So we've kind of broken through this level here, which is kind of the big barrier. So I don't really want to see price come underneath there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my stop right around here, relatively hugging price pretty closely. Today we do have something going on in the news, which is the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden here in the United States, which, you know, with any sort of big political or any sort of news that goes on in the US, there's always the uncertainty or any sort of unknown variables of how the market might actually take it. Again, that's not any sort of political opinion or anything. It's just that a lot of times when we get political activities going on, it causes stir and volatility in the markets. So we will see. The last time we got news of you know, the election results coming in, the market turned very, very bullish. So we'll see if that can continue. And in my case, that would be preferable. Whoops, we got Java doing something. But the idea here being that if we're going to see that continue because of, you know, the market perceiving things as bullish, then very happily I will continue to hold this position and try and trail it further. From here, it is just a matter of trailing behind structure. So again, I mentioned that we kind of had this key zone of resistance, right? It ultimately did become support, which is kind of cool. So price jumped through that level, it retested this area, and you can see what was resistance ended up acting as support here and pushing price further into our favor, which is awesome. So I also noticed one thing that was kind of interesting here is we are very close to the all-time high, which in my case here is awesome because it looks very likely that we could be due to go retest at the very least that all-time high. So at that point, will I take profits? Probably not, because here's what I'm going to do. What I'm probably going to do is continue to trail behind structure going forward, even though naturally I feel inclined to say, hey, I should probably take profits because this is the all-time high. A lot of times what happens is our logic, quote unquote, gets in the way of letting a true trend continue. And what do we have going on in the S&P 500? Well, we have a dominant uptrend right now, very, very strong momentum. And to me, to try and say, oh, this is the top would probably be a dangerous thought compared to just trying to let this thing run for as much as it wants to do. So in my case, again, the plan is we've broken through a key level of resistance, which is great. The idea is to hopefully see this thing continue to run in our favor and to continue to trail this stop loss in and let a trend become the biggest profit as it possibly can. I think one of the hardest things, I put this on my Instagram yesterday, maybe you guys will pop up the image here. I posted on Instagram basically my thoughts on holding on to winning trades because let's just be completely honest, it's very difficult. I'm sitting here up probably around $500 on this trade, something like that. And it's hard not to just want to say, oh man, I could just take the profit, be done for the day. And that would basically make my day, make my last few days just from this one trade. But the reality is that if I really want to let my edge run, I need to let this trade become a monster if and only if it wants to be one. I don't force it to be a great trade. I don't force it to be anything, right? I just say, if this trend decides to go crazy, most traders, including myself, struggle with holding on to a winner, but it's just that one winner that goes absolutely monstrous in my favor that's going to change everything, right? That's going to really drastically increase the performance of my account. And so I'm going to be disciplined here, going to let this one run as much as possible. And if it stops me out, then no problem. We've locked in about $235 of profit there on this trade. So if it goes back, it retests that area, then no big deal. We will happily take that profit as well. Good place to be in for sure in our trading. So that's where I'm at, and I will keep you guys updated. All right, guys. So I just got to the office about an hour ago, or I guess only about 15-20 minutes ago, and the chart here has just gone crazy. So we've seen price just run to the upside, which of course is nice. And I've already trailed my stop and alerted members that I did so. So I moved my stop up past 2R, locking in a pretty good amount here. And I'm actually trailing this thing rather aggressively because I want to match the price action here. So what you might notice a lot of times is when something screams to the upside, a lot of times it can scream back the other direction. For example, let's take a look here. Let's scroll back. You can see here's an example of a chart that went screaming to the downside and then shortly after screamed back the other way, right? And that happens a lot in markets where we get this increase in volatility where we shoot one direction and then we shoot back the other. So now that I'm seeing that going on currently, I am basically going to trail my stop rather aggressively. So what I'm going to do here is the further this thing moves in my favor, the more I will trail my stop. And I've picked this area because as you saw in the beginning of this, if I go back to the 30-minute chart, you can see we kind of just formed a point right here where price formed a high, we pulled back, we shot through that, we pulled back, we bounced off of that. So I don't want to see price go underneath there, otherwise I will trail my stop and get out of there. And as we near the high here, or as we make a high here, if we form any sort of pullback zone or anything like that, I will continue to trail my stop from there. And if we continue to bust through these levels, then I may even trail stops a little bit more and just lock in as much as I can on this trade. Like I said, today is Inauguration Day in the United States, and I kind of anticipated that it would be perceived as a bullish day and that markets would be up on the day. Of course, I'm not going to say that, oh, I knew that was going to happen, or try and claim some sort of crystal ball guru like sort of thing, but I did have a good idea, just because historically elections are bullish, whether Republican or Democrat here in the States. A lot of times elections or just around it, there's a lot of positivity and hope for the future. So a lot of times that causes the markets to kind of run during those times. So anyways, I'm trailing the stop rather tight. I wanted to give you guys an update. So I've locked in here on this trade $380, which I understand is not a ginormous amount of money. It's not like I'm gonna make 10 grand off of this or anything like that. I guess it's possible if this thing runs like a monster, but the idea is that for the most part, my goal here is just to trail stops and take as much as I can from this trend without getting greedy or just taking profit here just because it seems high. Although it very well could pull back, it also very well could continue, and I don't know the extent to this trend. And again, like I said, I don't have a crystal ball. I just look for opportunities where the odds or the probability seems more likely for a market to continue trending in one direction, and I'll just hold that as much as possible. But very, very happy with how this trade is going. We are currently sitting at around 3R, meaning that we, for our initial risk of 1R, right, we are currently up floating over 3R, which is fantastic. That's where you want to be with your trades, in my opinion, because what that means is that we're risking a smaller amount to capture these sort of trades where things just run in your favor like a giant monster and it just keeps going, and you hope that it just becomes an even bigger monster. Let me just pause here and just say something that I want to make clear. In the past, as a losing trader, or as in the past where I've made some trading mistakes, especially when I was a very new trader, a lot of times I would be doing the exact opposite of what you're seeing me doing in this video. In the sense, I would sell here and I would hold, and hope and pray and wish and pray and all of the stuff that you could do to try and get this chart to turn around, because I would be holding on to a loser. And if price went down here, I would have cashed out and said, oh, well, you can't go broke taking a profit. And the reality is, I guess you if you're only taking profits, then yeah, you can't go broke taking a profit. But if you're taking losses and they're much bigger than your profits, that definitely can lead to you losing money. And so for me, going here, I basically have jumped into this trend and tried to capture as much of it as I can. And I'm letting this thing become a ginormous benefit rather than letting it be a ginormous problem. And I think that that is a big, big difference between losing new traders and traders who, again, let those winners run and they trade with dominant energy in the market and they just let it do its thing. So that's what I've got for you guys. Stay tuned. I'll be back with an update whether I get trailed out of the stop or if I decide to continue to move it higher, then that will be that. Okay guys, so a little bit more of an update here on the S&P trade that I'm currently in. We're looking at the 30-minute chart, and you can see this is the level that I just mentioned where we found support, but the market actually just opened. And what I mean by that is at 9:30 the US stock market opens up, and trading on this usually gets a little bit crazy. Now during the opening bell, as they call it, we saw a little bit of a dip and then a bounce back off of that level. What I'm hoping to see is for this to either continue throughout the start of today, as it is a high impact day with the election sort of stuff coming into place. We don't know what's around the corner, and not that I think that there is anything sort of devious or scary coming, but I do just know that high volatility could lead to some trailing, some really quick drops or some crazy movements to the upside, which would be better. So what I'm actually going to do is I am going to aggressively move this stop right behind that low of the day that was formed during the open, or not the low of the day, but the low of that kind of first 30-minute period. So if price decides to go back down to that point and drop through there, then I'm going to go ahead and stop out and take a profit there of what is that? It says about $490. So I am trailing this thing rather aggressively. I'm up about $575 at this point. So I would be giving back some of the profit, but I do want to see if this thing does want to break through highs and continue. Of course, from there, I will trail stops further, once things start to continue. But I'm just looking for points where, okay, this was a supportive level, clearly, on those lower time frames. Again, we're looking at the 30-minute chart. If we go down to the 15-minute, you can see it even more clear. We had this dip. Price price rallied, and I really don't want to see price break through that. Again, with all this volatility, as price just continues to run like this, I just want to trail my stop and lock in as much as I can before there's any sort of kind of big dip, right? So trailing this stop, letting it run. I'm not going to just take profit either, because again, I could have said that back here or back here. So I do want to give this thing a chance to continue to break highs and to continue to form a movement to the high. I believe, let's check. Are we at all-time highs? We're very close to all-time highs, like we mentioned. Right around that 4R mark is the all-time high. So we'll see if it wants to continue here. If we'll continue to let it run, and if not, then we will just take the profit there. Again, at this point, running on a $490 locked-in stop. So very happy with how this trade's going, and I will keep you guys updated. Well, guys, I am all out of the trade there. We closed a profit of just about $700, came out to $696.85 on this trade. So I am very, very satisfied with how this one played out. What happened is I actually trailed up the stop a little bit more up to around here, but then saw some volatility. We were up at this point, and then price came down drastically and shot back up and then down. It's all over the place. But either ways, I'm happy to get out of this trade. We do have, of course, the volatility will probably continue for the rest of the day. And if there are any sort of trade setups that I really like, if this thing pulls back a little bit more, maybe I'll look to re-enter. But for the most part, I'm very happy with how this one moved so far. And it's not every day that I get to pull, $700 out of the market. So it's always nice when it does happen. Fortunately, if you saw the other, I guess, I'm not sure if this one will be uploaded or the other one will be uploaded, but made another $331 on the USD ZAR, shorting it. So between those two trades, having a pretty solid week. So I will take it, and we'll move on and look for more setups. Just rinse and repeat what we're doing here. Of course, not every trade is like this, and like I mentioned, or I think I mentioned it, it may have been the other one. I'm getting the two USD ZAR and the SPX trade mixed up. But I talked about in one of the two videos that losses are a part of it, and I shared some of the examples from the group that I've taken recently that are losses. I don't want to come across as all of my trades are wins, but if you would like to trade with me and the rest of our analysts, you can see all of my trades as well as our other analysts and the chat room and all that sort of stuff inside of the A1 trading community. It looks like this. We can pop it up on the screen. And I definitely encourage you, if you do decide to join, check the link down below in the description. There's a promo code for you. If you made it to the end of the video, you can use that to get a little bit of a discount off of your membership. And again, like I said, I share all of my trades and details and analysis. Not meant to be a copy service or anything like that, but it is kind of a club or a community for people who are interested in trading Forex, or we also have a stock market community. Thank you guys so much for watching and all of the great support that I get on this channel. You guys are fantastic. I could not have asked for a better audience. You guys, the comment section is like almost overwhelmingly positive, which I guess you probably wouldn't expect from like a trading community. You would expect, some interesting characters, and they do exist, I suppose, but there's a lot more good than bad. So thank you guys for being so supportive and awesome, and have a great rest of your day. We'll see you back next time.